Grandma was pronounced dead after a week in the hospital. She had been put into an induced coma after her heart began to fail. The monitor flattened and they pulled a white sheet over her body the minute of pushing on her chest trying to revive her. Mom and Dad both squeezed their son's hand and then rushed him out of the hospital room. Her funeral was 2 days later. Mom and Dad prayed for a closed casket. 20 or so people sat through the service, and then everyone flocked to the graveyard where Grandma was going to be buried. The sun stood in the back of the crowd as the coffin was lifted down into the 6-foot deep hole. None of this felt right to the son. Sure, Grandma was old and having heart problems, but why was she suddenly just up and die? It felt wrong. Dirt was thrown into the hole where people started disappearing. Mom and Dad went back to the church and cleaned up and left their son sitting in front of Grandma's freshly buried grave. Grandma opened her eyes and began to cough. At the hospital, her heart had been beating so slowly that it was undetectable. She was pronounced dead when she truly wasn't. She had just come out of an induced coma. Everything was black around her. She could hardly breathe. She reached out her hand and touched and moved, but they hissed velvety and hard above her. She began screaming. Her heart pounded and she choked and yelled. The son heard noises from the ground and put his ear against the dirt. He heard screams. He began screaming himself and started taking up the loose dirt with his hands. After a long while, he uncovered the coffin and was greeted with silence. The sun had gone down, and the only light was emitted from street lamps and lights from the church. He pulled the coffin open, wiped the tears off his face with his dirty hands, and jumped back at the sight that he uncovered. Grandma was in the coffin. Her arms were stiff, and her fingers were bloody and broken. She had tried to scratch her way out. The top of the inside of the coffin was ripped apart. Her eyes and mouth were wide open, and rigor mortis had taken over her entire body. She had died, really, from lack of oxygen.